Hello and good morning, everyone. Welcome to the first webinar on the maturity model between the cities of Kristiansand and Vejle. We are here. This is Vasilios from ICLEI. I'm talking to you from San Sebastian. I'm here with Yosune next to me, and I will take you through on the activities of today, and then we can continue. This is the first webinar that is actually focusing on the maturity model, and which is developed by our research partner Teknun. The city to be reviewed is Kristiansand, and we have on board also our peer reviewer Vejle. The webinar will take more or less 1 hour and 15 minutes to 1 hour and a half. And the last week in Kristiansand, we had the first stakeholder training workshop on the maturity model last Thursday. And as it was agreed among the project partners, this webinar will be used as a follow-up to the training workshop and the implementation activities. The main objectives are the following. We need to discuss the testing of the maturity model as a tool developed as a part of the SMR Resilience Management Guideline. Also, we need to bring the Tier 2 cities, in our case, Vejle, into the play and start the peer reviewing of what happened in Kristiansand, and also introduce the updated and advanced maturity model as a strategy and policy tool. Then I'll have also, as I told you, I have next to me Yosune, and she will give you a bit more information about the new updates of the maturity model and what they have been working in the last weeks and months, and what are the new more advanced features and the way that the maturity model can be presented and can be used by cities into their local planning for resilience. This is the program from today. Following this introduction, we will present you, as I said, the maturity model, and then what we are looking for is some initial feedback from Kristiansand on what happened last week. Then we will move on with some feedback from the facilitator from Teknun and ICLEI. And then some days ago, we shared also a guiding questionnaire that has been developed by Teknun, which will serve as a basis for the discussion between the two cities. And we will conclude with some lessons learned from the implementation process and what can be changed in the process. How can we make the pilot implementation more useful for the Tier 1 cities, and also to gather some recommendations and final input on the finalization of the tool. So what actually happened last week in the first stakeholder training on the maturity model? Actually, we had like around 10 stakeholders from Kristiansand. ICLEI and me were facilitating the training, and also we had like stakeholders. We had also like partners from CM and the city of Kristiansand, who were acting as the facilitators for the breakout group exercises that we did. We had actually 3 exercises that had different objectives, and they investigated the different elements of the maturity model separately, and also tried to make it more specific for the city of Kristiansand. I don't know if this was actually meant to just give a brief overview to Vejle about what we did. If you have any questions now, you can pose them, and then we can move on to the presentation on the recent updates of the maturity model.
Do you have anything? No. No questions for now.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot. So I can invite now Yosune to give us a brief presentation about the maturity model.
Okay, good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Okay, I think that almost all of you are already familiar with this maturity model, but just in case, the purpose of this maturity model is just to make easier or to have a common understanding of the different concepts related to resilience. We expect that this maturity model helps to improve the communication between different stakeholders during the resilience building process, and it should be useful as well to identify and support the strategies regarding enforcement of resilience. We think that the end users of this maturity model can be all the city stakeholders, but mainly is focused to be used by the stakeholders who have the capacity or the ability to make strategic decisions. So maybe the local government departments, critical infrastructure providers, and so on. The benefits of using this maturity model, we think that this model provides a sequence of policies for each stage, and it can be used as a guideline to implement those policies. We think that this is the most efficient way of implementing the policies, and this is a tool that can help different organizations just to make a diagnosis to see the strengths and the weaknesses that they have. As you already know, the maturity model that has been proposed in this project has 5 maturity stages: starting, moderate, advanced, robust, and vertebrate. For each stage, we have identified with your help a list of policies that can be or that should be implemented just to move from one stage to the next one, and we have already identified the stakeholders who need to be involved in each maturity stage as well in a very active way, and we have also identified some indicators that need to be measured just to see the implementation level of these policies. To develop this maturity model, we have considered 4 different dimensions. So you can see in the picture that we have focused on leadership and governance dimension, the preparedness dimension, infrastructure and resources, and finally cooperation. And you can see that the learning process is something that we have included in all these 4 dimensions, because each city can be at different stage depending on these 4 dimensions. In each dimension, we have also split them in sub-dimensions, and you can see that when we are talking about leadership and governance, we are talking about the multi-governance collaboration, we are talking about legislation development, we are talking about learning, culture, and the development of the resilience action plan. When we are talking about the preparedness dimension, we are talking, we are referring to the assessment that the city needs to develop just to know the risks to the ones that are exposed, and the several education and training activities that that city needs to develop just to improve the resilience level. In the infrastructures and resources dimension, we focus on the reliability of critical infrastructures and other type of infrastructures, and the resources that we need to develop or to deploy just to increase the resilience level. And finally, in the cooperation dimension, we are talking about the different partnership that the city needs to develop, and how the different stakeholders need to be involved during this resilience building process. As you know, we think that the involvement of the different stakeholders during this process is crucial to succeed in this process. So you can see in this picture the different stakeholders that we are taking into account in this maturity model. So just to clarify, when we are talking city in small letters, we are referring to the government, the local government. But when we are talking about city in capital letters, sorry, we are referring to the city and all the relevant stakeholders working together. And the purpose of these sessions is to gather enough information just to try to validate the usefulness of this tool, of the maturity model, and apart from it is just to create a tool. It will be afterwards included in the engagement tool, and what we are going to try to do is just to try to create this type of graphs. We will make a diagnosis of the status of each city, and we will see, using this tool, we will see the level of the maturity stage in each of these dimensions and subdimensions. So what we have right now is just, okay, a maturity model. You have seen it. It is an Excel file. But afterwards, with this information, with the information that we are gathering in these pilot implementation sessions, what we are going to try is just to create a tool, a web tool, where different cities can answer some questions, and after that, they will be able to get a result like this one, like the picture that you can see in the slides, and they will be aware of the maturity stage that the city has, depending on the dimension they are analyzing. So in this case, you can see that this tool will be used in different can be used in different stages, and you can see how the city have improved depending on the resources or on the policies that they are implementing in this process.
Thanks a lot, Yosune. Are there maybe any questions from the two cities? Yosune is representing now Tecnun, and the developer of the project, so she's here to answer your questions.
So the thing is that maybe now you can see the maturity model as something that is on paper, but thanks to you, thanks to the information that you are providing us during these sessions, we will be able to create an application afterwards that other cities will be able to use to make a diagnosis of their current status regarding to resilience building process.
Just two very quick questions. So when I'm looking at the model on the screen there's some darker areas and then some more green areas.
Yeah.
The first one, is that the starting point, and then the last one is where you have developed to, or?
Yeah, that's it.
Yes, okay, thanks.
After you can use this tool, or you will be able to use this tool every every time you want. So maybe you can make a first diagnosis at the beginning of the process, and after that, after some time, I don't know, after 1 year, you can make another diagnosis just to see if the policies that you are implementing are getting some results, or are you improving in the resilience level.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
And this is more like a visualization of the assessment that each city can do with the maturity model at a certain time frame, and then this can show more on how the status looks. So if you look at the gray one, it's like starting. If you see also like in different sub dimensions, you see that maybe if you looking at the gray one, you see that in the C2 the level is advanced, or that in C1 the level is moderate, and yeah, then also it can show you somehow that the main outcome, the main objective is for the city's resilience to grow. So also in some cases, like if you look at the gray at L3, so actually in L3 at the beginning, at the first assessment, it was bigger. And then in the green we see that it's actually the L3 is less, which means that maybe the city has implemented like the wrong policies. It's like a way to visualize the city's assessment on resilience always.
Yeah, because what we want to show cities is that this is a continuous improvement process. So you can start implementing some policies and stop implementing them when you achieve a maturity stage. You need to keep investing time and money in those policies until the end or continuously.
The other question I had, maybe I don't know if you can answer it right now, but how complex, how long time does it take to fill in the questionnaires? Is it kind of a fast tool, or is it something where you need to do a lot of preparation?
Yeah, a very good question. We are working on that now. I can tell you how long it will take, but we are preparing it. We will, if you want, we will try with you. And apart from getting this type of graphs, the cities will get some guidelines or some best practices just to try to move forward to another maturity stage. So apart from the graph, the cities will receive some recommendations as well.
Okay, great. I actually came up, sorry if I'm starting the questions already. Just one more thing I was curious about. Will it be possible to put in your own questions? Say if you have a certain area that you feel is important for your city, but it's not represented into the tool. Is that kind of flexibility in it, or is it, yeah?
I don't think so, because we will use information that we will gather from you, so we will only have information from this dimension. So
yes, okay, thanks.
Okay, thanks a lot. We can now move on to the next session, that is about gathering input from Kristiansand about what happened last week in the pilot implementation session in the city. Just to give like a very brief overview also of the exercises, what we did was 3 interactive exercises. The first one was focusing on identifying evidences regarding the policies that are already in the maturity model, and to see what kind of actions are implemented regarding and related to each policy, who are the stakeholders involved, when did this policy started, and also like to identify a temporal timeline and also barriers, difficulties and challenges to implement each policy. The second exercise then was focusing on the indicators that the city is using. And actually, we started by reviewing the list of indicators proposed in the maturity model and trying to answer some questions that have been developed by Technoon about, for example, to what extent are these indicators suitable for measuring the policies if the city is using them, and again, focusing on difficulties and challenges. And the last exercise was focusing on the stakeholders' role and involvement in each maturity stage and in each dimension. And what we did was we had 4 teams of stakeholders, and each team was working according to their background and their expertise in one of the maturity model dimensions. So we would ask Sigurd, I don't know if you are alone there or there are also other people from Kristiansand, or if Celia is with you. We would like to get your feedback and kind of evaluation regarding the session last week, and we have already put in the screen some questions that we would like you, if possible, to answer.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, very good.
Yes. Oh, Sigurd.
I just have to read the evaluation form. I will say first that it is, if you can mute your microphone, it's easy.
I will do that right away.
Thank you. Much better. Well, in the invitation and the information we got ahead of it, we tried as good as we could to find the right stakeholders. A problem is every time that we might have people coming and they actually don't know why they are there. So they will have sort of some expectations to it before they come, because maybe it's a lack of information or they didn't understand the information or something like that. So that will always be a problem if you don't actually know the tool. And we cannot say properly what the tool is supposed to be and what we can use it for. So that I think that is important when we are trying to use a tool like this, that it should be a very good information about what is actually the tool, what is the purpose, what is the municipal motivation of actually using the tool. And when we have that, it will be much easier to find the right people to attend such a workshop. But we tried, and after we have been there, we realized that some of the people should really have been there that wasn't there because they didn't know. So I'm sorry about that, but that's the truth. People that especially are working with the municipal strategic plan should definitely have been there. The other problem is that, at least in Kristiansand and in many Norwegian municipalities, we are organized in sectors. So one sector has to do with schools and kindergarten, and one sector is health issues, and some more technical branches, and some culture branches. Maybe we also have economy and so on. And when it comes to resilient, we are in different. We are different in maturity in a way. Some of the sectors have worked because it's the purpose to save life, for example. So they are always trying to be more sort of resilient in the way they are doing their services. other sectors are thinking differently, are more taking it as it is coming in a way. But I find that the tool is worth working on, as long as you have done sort of a process, we call it to sell in the model, to sell in the model in a good way. I think I mentioned some in a workshop that we had, that for some years ago we used a professor, Professor Bertelmann, and he made a survey on the municipality in how we are as a municipality, and he did that also with some other municipalities that we have a sister friendship agreement with, to compare best practice. But he did it himself, like by interviewing, and it's a little bit similar to the maturity model in a way. But in this model you only got points, like you could have the maximum of, I can't remember if it was 100 or 150 or something like that. You got points, and he always could look at the other cities to see how good are they when it comes to so and so type of services. Okay, this model we have to attend in a sort of, and now I'm actually giving feedback on the workshop, because we were doing two things, I believe. We were both sort of trying out or giving inputs directly to the model during the workshop, but we were also trying to just answering. So I don't believe that the model is finished. Like you asked from Vejle, could you put in other questions that are not in the model? And it should actually be that. You should have the possibility to put in more questions, because every municipality is unique, and and we are the relationship between the municipality and stakeholders are in some way different because of legislation, because of how things are working in a regional or national picture. So still that is a problem, how to answer on questions because of the unique situation that you have. So maybe we should think more about that when it comes to Norway, to Denmark, to Spain, to the legislation thing that is that sort of makes the relationship between the municipality and stakeholders in a special way. That is one thing. The other thing is we actually don't know the value of this tool before we actually get some feedback on how did we actually doing the workshop, getting the graph back, the picture with the map with the different dimension, and when the CEO and the stakeholders, the CEO, the directors, and the stakeholders sit together and reflect upon this picture, because then you will get the answer. Okay, no, we can see it is true. We are lacking on so and so. Maybe it is leadership, maybe it's preparation, and so on. When you get that, then you know if they actually want to use it. So I think I talked with you, Vasilio, under the workshop, and I said that when we are going to do this, we need professional facilitators that can actually sell in the tool and make it as anything else we do. When we have consultants coming over and interviewing us or making a survey or something that we actually want to use. So I think we tried as good as we could. I still don't think it's finished because I'm not sure that we have all the items or not all the questions in it. So I'm not sure about the content of the maturity model, but it will help with other cities that are also giving input. And when it's finished, we have to work on the motivation on why we should use it to the right people in the municipality, and then we will certainly get the right people to answer it.
Thanks a lot, Sigurd. I don't know if Josune, would you like to respond to a couple of Sigurd's points?
Yeah, okay. In the first place, I would like to thank all of you because Vasilio told me that you were very supportive and you were working quite hard implementing the exercises. So I appreciate that. And regarding your questions or your comments, I agree. We haven't taken into account the legislation of each country, just to identify the relationships between the municipalities and the different stakeholders, and this is something that we will try to do it from now on. And I understand your point. Sometimes it's difficult to see the purpose of the outcome of this tool because the only thing that you can see is just a piece of paper, and that's why we are trying to implement this type of assessment tool using all of this information that we are gathering from you. We are trying to make like an assessment questionnaire and to try to identify the current maturity stage in each of these dimensions, resilience dimension. But it's true that sometimes what we need to explain in a better way is the purpose of this tool, the outcome, the benefits that you will get from using this tool. And this is something that is true. We haven't done in a very well way during these months in this project, but we are trying to move forward and try to improve it, developing this tool, just to see or just to try or to let you see that this tool can be relevant or can be very useful for cities. And it's true that this is just a pilot, this is just a prototype, and afterwards when we try to exploit in some way this tool, it's true that we need we need professionals, and we need to be with specific people just to gather the correct information. But I completely agree with your comments, and we will take all of them into account just to improve this tool.
Thanks a lot, Josune. Also from my side, as I was facilitating the event and I was during the breakout sessions, I was around the groups always. I can say that in the first exercise, when gathering evidences about the policies that exist in the maturity stages, I think that all the groups worked quite hard, and they had a lot of examples on evidences and actions implemented regarding the policies. The main constraint there was the time, because the exercise is quite demanding, and it needs a lot of input and a lot of thought also before providing input. So in the next workshops, we will need to allocate more time there. Regarding the second exercise, it was a bit difficult for the stakeholders to identify the temporal timeline and to bring real values into the different maturity stages. And for the third exercise, the stakeholders, it was a little bit difficult for all the groups to actually identify what is the role of the European legislative bodies and also what is the role of the sectoral regulators, which were both additions following the last review meeting by the European Commission. And it appeared that actually the city of Kristiansand was not very aware of how they should respond to that and what is the role of these stakeholders. And I don't know, like, if you would like, Sigurd, also, do you have into mind any also like policy or indicator or something in your group? Was there anything like really that stand out as that it should be that there was a problem there or there was a challenge, or did you have maybe any specific discussions on something that we can change in the future?
I think I should mention two things. First, I'm on national conference today and tomorrow, and it's just as a motivation. Just know the chief of fire brigade in Paris talked about the terror attack that was in Paris. Patrick Turner, Assistant General Secretary of NATO, have talked, and many other from Europe, and all of them are talking about resilience. That is the first thing I will say. So it's good to know that we are working on something with resilience. And then I have to mention something that our chief of security mentioned, and another lady called Cecilie Dore, that is the chief of director for civil defense and affairs. The problem, as I said, has to do with the municipalities. We normally do one thing, and that is preparation. We do preparation. We make people read at school, to socialize. We do planning activities in the technical branch. So 99% of what municipalities do is preparation. And the bonding between preparation and emergency management is something that more or less the police or defense are taking care of. But lately we have got so many new laws telling that the municipality, the city, has a responsibility of taking care or being involved and doing cooperation. So this is the dilemma that we in Norway are in, and that's also the dilemma when we talk about resilient, because people that are preparing, they don't understand resilient. Only the people that are working with crisis management know more about what that can be. So I found your presentation about resilient compared with sustainability very good. And I think this is something that we, especially in Norway, I don't know how it is elsewhere, we are having a little bit trouble with combining these two things, because when it comes to crisis management, it is something that the leaders have to deal with, and in Norway it is only less than 10 cities that have their own sort of resilient officer or crisis management officer or something like that. It's only a few cities that has that. So if you understand me, we don't really think we think more about sustainability in a way, then we can focus on resilient. So I think we discussed that also after the workshop.
Mm-hmm.
That there's a problem with understanding of this, which sector is going to take care of it in a way. It's all sectors, and that's a problem.
Okay, thanks a lot, Sigurd.
And yeah, just a question, Sigurd. And okay, taking into account that this is a prototype and a very preliminary prototype, but do you think that this maturity model, where you can see different policies and how these policies need to be to evolve just to improve the resilience level, do you think that this maturity model can help in some way just to understand better the concept of resilience?
I hope so, but I will always just say that in healthcare or in education or in technical affairs, I think most municipalities in Kristiansand are thinking about sustainability more. They don't know what resilient actually is. Resilient is maybe something that has to do with how we are going to handle things, like in crisis management. I think I just have to be honest. I think that is sort of a problem. But I like very much the way Vejle has done it, by sort of putting up this resilient strategy plan together with stakeholders. But I'm not sure that all municipalities understand why they actually should do that.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks a lot. Maybe anyway now we have Vejle on board, so maybe we can continue with feedback from Vejle, and maybe actually Jacob and the other participants can actually initially respond to Sigurd's input if they have something, and then we can move on with the guiding questionnaire that Teknon has prepared. Jacob?
Yes, very interesting. We're actually talking about maybe some of the questions that you prepared up front has been answered somehow from Sigurd, or at least addressed. So what I guess we will be doing, Anne-Charlotte and Anne-Charlotte, my colleague, did. Sigurd, you know her also. You met her in Iceland. So maybe we'll just ask some questions or do some comments on some things that we thought was either interesting or something that needs to be looked into somehow. And should I start with just? I was curious about. How you actually work with this model, where you fill out a questionnaire and then you get some kind of result that you can look at. So I think there are two things that would be important here. Is first of all, figure out how do you actually implement this on a daily basis. So is it possible for you to have this as a tool that you once a month or at a certain meeting where you have been discussing some things, right away go into the tool and implement things, answer some new questions, so you can kind of put new information into the tool. So I wondered if this would be possible, and how will you create that type of workflow with the model that makes this work? And especially because you talked, Sigurd, about, as far as I remember, about sectors, and this sectors is a challenge also here. We sometimes refer to them as silos. So I guess there's no doubt that if you look at resilience from a technical department or fire department or so on, you will have one approach. And as you mentioned, Sigurd, some of these people are already actually saving lives right now. So this is how they will approach it. But if you sit in an educational department, you will be looking at things in a completely different way, which can, I guess, create some cultural clashes. Because I think you had a good point, Sigurd. In a way, things happen when the important people sit in the same room and talk about the results from the model. So I would be curious about how can we do the best implementation of the tool on a daily basis, so it's kind of a natural tool. One is, of course, as you mentioned, Sigurd, some facilitators selling the product in a way, but another thing would be how you can work with this in a daily workflow, and how you can remove these cultural clashes that might appear across sectors. That would be, I don't know, it's actually not a question, it was a comment. If that's okay. I hope it makes sense.
Okay, what we are going to try is just to develop a very preliminary prototype, and the information that we are going to take into account is the one that you are providing us. So we are not going to focus on health sector, on education sector. We are going to work in a very aggregated way. Afterwards, if you like the prototype, if you like the results, if you think that it's a useful tool to be applied in different sectors, we need to gather from we need to gather more specific information from those sectors to try to adapt this tool and use in these sectors. And now we don't have enough information to try to adapt this prototype of this tool to these specific sectors. But if you like the idea, we can do afterwards, but not now.
That's okay. I'm aware that it's a prototype. Just a comment on that. If we somehow down the lane will make this work, it needs to create a space where you can collaborate across sectors, because sometimes a solution in a certain area it needs participants from various sectors. So it was just a comment on that. So that's okay.
I completely agree with you. It's important that different sectors are involved in this in the development of this tool. That's why we have tried to involve people with different expertise, with different backgrounds in this pilot implementation process. But the thing is that we will need a lot of people to gather enough information to ensure that this tool will be perfect. But the thing is that we don't have enough resources to do that. We don't have enough time to do that during the length of the process of this project. But we are trying to do it.
Yes.
I wonder then, one of the dimension of the maturity model is collaboration. So does it count for exactly the collaboration between sectors? Because that seems to be important to me then, that is part of being mature, that you actually know how to collaborate between sectors.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Mm-hmm.
Coming back to Sigurd's comment regarding Vejle's efforts on building resilience to the 100 Resilient Cities project, and moving also back to the question, do you think that in Vejle, like from your experience in Vejle, do you think that the maturity model could be a tool useful to identify the city's strengths and weaknesses on resilience?
Yes, definitely. But of course, and that's why I'm, in a way, that's one of the reasons why I was curious about the workflow with it. I mean, if you get a very easy, accessible tool where you very quickly get some overview or some guidelines on where are your strengths and your weaknesses, then I think that would be a very good thing, definitely. So, but if it becomes complicated to use, that's that would be the challenge.
Okay. Thank you. Would you like to move forward, Jacob? If you have like more questions regarding the maturity model that can be directed to Sigurd.
I wondered about the group being together in this workshop. Because Sigurd, you said that it was important to have the right people and know who it should be. So one question is, do you, after your workshop, have an idea of who you should invite for this kind of meeting? And the second question is, would it be the best to have people from different sectors together? Because I think that with this 4 dimensions in the maturity model, it must, of course, be different kind of people you need. So should they be together, or would it be better to have them in separate?
Can I answer some of that?
Yes.
I think that one way of doing this is to pick the people that are straight under the CEO level, that are working with, for example, the municipal long-term strategic plan. These people, together with people that also are coordinating crime prevention, coordinating folk health, coordinating crisis management, coordinators that are actually doing coordination between sectors. I think that is a group that really you should have focus on doing this maturity model.
So in this case, you would think that the first responders and people working with like the fire departments and this kind of stakeholders should not be involved in this tool, but maybe should get the results later.
No, they can be first responders can be under the preparedness area.
Okay.
But when it comes to people that are working with crime prevention, the stakeholder would be some unit under the police as a stakeholder. So I think that the municipality itself has to make a definition on which people should we actually invite when we know what the model actually the attentions when we really know what that is. So therefore it's quite important to sell in a good way what is the purpose with this and the motivation, why should you do it, and then you should say something about who have the municipality to invite, because the municipality have to take a hand on that, who to invite to use the model in the right way. And then the fourth point is there has to be a clear planning how to use the method. How many hours are you going to do in preparation, doing the survey, and after the reflection and the plan for how to sort of go to the next level in a way.
Thank you. Can we move on then to further questions from Vejle?
Yes, you had one, Angela.
Yeah, well, actually, one of my questions was one of the guiding questions because Sigurd, you mentioned the facilitation, and and you said that it needs to be professional. So of course, I wondered, what do you think how do you think it should be?
Well, it's always difficult when people from the university is coming and visiting practitioners. But we have a lot of consultants that are doing jobs, service like we are talking about here. And you should actually be on the level that, according to these consultants agency. I think Vejle and Vifin knows what I'm talking about, because they have such a role in a way. You never know before you have sold anything if you're good enough. But as I have said before, you have to sell in the product in a way that the CEO and the directors actually can see the use of it, because they are going to use a lot of resources, and if they can see what they can benefit out of it, and I think many of the cities that have done, for example, the 100 Resilient City process, they are selling it because there are other cities that have done it, and they can see that these cities are really gone a few steps. And I think it has to be a package that really sells.
Thank you. Jacob, do you have more questions?
Nah, well, only a little bit of curiosity, Sigurd, when you said these facilitating professionals, do you think it's important that it's people from outside the municipality or the organization, or is it important for you to kind of use your own people? Because I guess you also have these types of people in Kristiansand.
I shouldn't talk about other cities about this, but I believe that it should be people from outside. Yes.
Okay. Yes. Thank you. I don't think we have more comments for now.
Okay. So the general idea would be like when the tool would be finalized, that then we should actually consider like professionals to kind of sell the tool, and this could be actually part of our exploitation strategy. I don't know, Josefine, do you have some final comments, I think?
Yes. No, I understand your point, Sigurd. I think that it's important to take into account, just to clarify that this, meanwhile we are in this project, we are creating the tools, and this is a task where we need to research, we need to develop, and when we have a very preliminary prototype, the exploitation phase will start. And it's true that in that phase we need some experts, or we need some professionals to do the consultancy role. But the thing is that I would like to ask you if you know if the 100 resilient cities are developing tools that the ones that we are trying to do it in that project, or they are, as I don't have access to that platform, I don't know if they are developing some similar tools, or if they are developing tools, or they are only making some, I don't know, some suggestions or some meetings, and after that some type of assessment. I don't know what is the purpose of the outcomes of this network.
I think Vejle can answer on that, because they have done it.
Yeah, well, good question. I think the details I'm not aware about in the 100 resilient cities, and I guess a good one to ask this question would either be Ip, who is a little bit more into it, or of course Jonas, our Chief Resilient Officer. But I know they kind of give access to tools. So I think they have access to quite a lot of tools, but they might be developed already or from, let's say, IBM or some other companies in that area. And you were trying to say something, Angela? So please remind us to answer the question in more details on it. But as far as I know, I'm not sure. They are very interesting in this here, so I don't think in this specific field that they are. But
I just want to add, I asked the same question to Ib in Kristiansand, and he said exactly that the network wasn't developing anything new specifically. It's more about providing access to information and publicity, but that the added value of SMR then was that new tools were coming out of it. So I think it can definitely provide more input on that.
Thank you, Clara.
Thank you very much.
And one last question from my side also would be, Sigurd, after the workshop, did you have maybe a chance to talk to the participants if they found it worth the value, or if they had any comments?
I think the comments was a little bit what I said in the beginning. It was quite tough because it's tough to both sort of develop something and also participate in something at the same time. But they tried as good as they could. But if we had knew even more about and we had to know it at least 2-3 weeks before, then we could make sure the right people to attend. As I said, we have coordinators, we have the right people on the right level to actually use that tool. So instead of having a hit on maybe 60%, you could have a hit within 80% with the right people, and they will also get much more out of it, together with the right stakeholders. And the right stakeholders, we have too many of the preparedness, the first responders. So many of them think that this tool is something for crisis management and first responders, instead of actually have focus on the strategic plan for the municipality and the stakeholders that are or could be invited. I say it like this because I believe that Vejle is stretching out even more to stakeholders than we are doing. So we should work more on the preparation before we do such a workshop with the maturity model.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Can I add a short comment on the last thing you said? Just to say, yes, of course we have a resilience strategy, and I guess the full collaboration between different departments in the municipality. But we also stand in front of the one very difficult task and that is when you turn a strategy into concrete ideas, actions, and so on. So that still needs to be, in a way, fulfilled. So, but a strategy is a good beginning.
Thank you.
And can I say one thing more? It's because we're also doing processes with other consultants, and one thing that fascinating me is okay, when you are answering in a survey, sort of, you can ask where do you think you are, but at the same time you make surveys on facts, so you know better. And when you give the result, you will find that many of the leaders they think that so and so, but the real facts shows something else. and that also give a motivation for the municipality to move in a direction, because they think they are very good. Just as you said, for example, when it comes to how many things have you put in action, you will find out that there's a lot of things that is only on plans and strategies and not put out in real actions.
Yes, I think also like from moving around in the exercises, I think that this was common consensus among all the groups, that there are a lot of planned evidences and actions, but not so many actually implemented in all the 3 dimensions actually.
Yeah, so how to get to show that in the map should also be very interesting.
Okay, thank you. Are there any last comments from both cities, and then we can move on to wrapping up?
We don't have any more comments. So,
okay.
Yes.
I'm fine. Just to say that Celia couldn't meet today because she was just a short period into the hospital just for some medication things, nothing dangerous. So she's
okay.
still there.
Okay, thank you. Great. Okay, so moving on to the next steps now, we would ask the Vejle representatives to prepare a short report, just like we did in the previous pilot implementation of the community engagement tool. So a short report of 1 to 2 pages, and send it to ICLEI until the 17th of February. The items of this report should be the constraints and commonalities that you identify between the 2 cities regarding the maturity model. If you have any final recommendations for the finalization of the tool, and if you have also any comments on the use of the tool, and if you find it transferable and replicable, and if you think also according to your experiences with other projects or with the 100 resilient cities, how this tool could be actually then used by the municipality, by whom and for which purposes. And also from our side, we are also working on user manuals on the maturity model. The representatives in Kristiansand got the chance to have like a preliminary version of these manuals, but the final ones will be available in spring. So thanks a lot for your participation today, and we are keeping notes on this webinar, and we are also recording it, and you will have access to both the recording and the notes in the next days. And then you can also, like, if you want, you can also circulate it among your teams with other people who were not able to attend today and would be interested. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.